Welcome back, everyone. It's grammar time with Mrs. Clevenger again, and you know exactly what that means. Grab your ELA notebook and your pencil and get ready to take some grammar notes. This week, we're going to be learning about context clues. There are 5 main types of context clues: definition, synonym, antonym, inference, and example. So grab your ELA notebook and let's get started. Here we go. We're on the search for context clues with Mrs. Clevenger. Has this ever happened to you? Sammy is reading and he comes to a word he doesn't understand. Of course it's happened to you. It's happened to all of us. What should he do? He should look for context clues. Remember, there are 5 main types of context clues. Definition or explanation clues is our context clue number 1. You're going to want to write this down. So what does that mean? Sometimes the author defines the word for the reader soon after it is used in a sentence. Pause if you need to. Here's an example of using a definition or explanation clue. The cacophony of noises surrounded the group of people. Cacophony is a mixture of harsh sounds. In this example, you can see the writer says the word in a sentence and then gives an explanation or definition of what cacophony means. Context clue number 2, synonym or a restatement clue. What does that mean? Sometimes the author uses a synonym or restates the word in a simpler way. Write that down. Remember, synonyms mean about the same, and restatement means to say it again in a different way. Teachers use this strategy a lot. For example, when I was teaching my students what the word quotient meant when we were learning division, I said, let's find the quotient, and immediately restated a synonym or restatement clue saying, let's find the answer to a division problem. That's an example. Here's another example using a synonym or restatement clue. As the cacophony came through the phone line, he pulled it away from his ear to lessen some of the blaring racket. You can see in this example, the writer is stating the word and then giving a synonym or restatement clue in a simpler way, explaining that cacophony means blaring racket. Context clue number 3, antonym or contrast clues. Remember, antonym means opposite. Sometimes the author presents the opposite meaning somewhere nearby so that 2 words can be contrasted. Pause and write that down. Here's an example of using an antonym or contrast clue. After spending the peaceful day at the spa, the woman was shocked by the cacophony that hit her when she opened the door to the daycare center. You can see in this example, the author is not giving the definition, right? They're not saying a synonym. They're describing an opposite or contrast. A peaceful day at the spa, nice and quiet. And then bam, she opens the door to the daycare center and there's all this noise and racket. You can see the picture is giving us clues and the opposite description. Context clue number 4, and we learned about this last week, inference clues. What does that mean? Sometimes the word is not clarified in the same sentence. The reader must look for the clues and make connections to their own experiences or what they already know about a topic. Remember, we learned about this last week. You look for clues and use your prior knowledge, your schema, to help you figure out what an unknown word means. Here's an example of using an inference clue. The cacophony of war was challenging for some of the soldiers to handle. There were many nights when it was difficult for them to sleep. Now you can see in this example, the author is not giving the definition. They're not giving a synonym or an antonym. They are letting the reader make their own guess, right, or inference to what cacophony means using their own prior knowledge. Here's an example. The student is thinking, I know that sometimes if there is a lot of noise, I can't sleep. I bet there's a lot of noise from guns during war. Therefore, I think cacophony must be a horrible type of noise. So remember, making an inference is when you take the clues from the text or the picture and you use your prior knowledge or schema to help you to figure out what an unknown word might mean. Context clue number 5, example clues. What does that mean? Sometimes the author includes examples to explain the meaning of a word. Here's an example of using example clues. A cacophony of owl hoots, chirping crickets, and howling wolves surrounded us. I couldn't wait to return home to my own bed. Now you can see in this example, the author is not using definition. They're not using a synonym or an antonym, and they're not even asking you to make your own inference. They are giving you an example. They are saying owl hoots, chirping crickets, and howling wolves surrounded them. These are all noisy. So with this example, the reader can conclude that cacophony probably means a lot of noise. Now let's review. Can you name all 5 types of the context clues? If you can't, or if you're missing any, make sure to go back and write them down. Number 1, definition. Number 2, synonym, means the same. Antonym, number 3, means opposite. Number 4, examples. And number 5, inference. Make sure you have all those written down and definitions and examples of each one. So definitely help you throughout the week and next week while we're working on context clues. I just realized something. The first letters of these words can be moved around to form a word. Do you see the word? I can. I in inference, D in definition, E examples, A antonyms, and S synonyms. It makes the word ideas. That's a great way to remember the 5 different types of context clues. And let's quickly review. Definition is when the author defines the word after it is used in the sentence. Synonym. This is when the author restates the word in a simpler way. Antonym. This is when the author presents the opposite word nearby so that the 2 words can be contrasted. E. Examples. This is when the author uses examples to explain the meaning of the word. And I. Inference. This is when the reader must look for clues and use connections to determine the meaning. We're going to stop right here. Make sure you have all your notes. Go back and rewatch it if you need to. And we're going to continue practicing using our 5 context clues, and I'll see you tomorrow for another video. Bye everybody. See you soon.